Good morning, students of BA Part 2nd, Government College Chaksu. This is Dr. Anshoo Sharma, and today I shall be doing the poem Enterprise by Nassim Ezekiel. I have already given you the introduction of the writer as well as the poem itself. Today I shall be beginning with the analysis of a detailed analysis of this poem. So, without much ado, let me just take you to the poem. Here, the poem is there before your screens. I'll just read, as I had told you, that this poem is of 6 stanzas in all, and each stanza has been divided into 5 lines. I'll take up one stanza at a time and discuss it with you. The very first stanza, it is here. I'll just quickly read it. It started as a pilgrimage, exalting minds and making all the burdens light. The second stage exploded but did not test the call. The sun beat down to match our rage. So, as I had told you that the poem is about a journey, the poem is about a pilgrimage that a group of people have decided to take. And here, the poet, in the very beginning, he very clearly states that how the people are very excited, their minds are exalted. Now, exalted means something on a higher plane, okay? And here it can also mean that because the spirits are high, therefore there is a certain happiness, there is a certain excitement in the hearts of people who have set out on this journey, and hence their minds are elevated. They are on a higher plane. There's a sense of happiness, and there is a sense of looking forward to the journey and to the ultimate destination. So here, till now, we don't know what the destination is, but we only know that it is something pleasant and the people are looking forward to it, and therefore their spirits are high and there is a general atmosphere of happiness. Then the poet says the second stage explored but did not test the call. So you can see that the poet has divided the journey in 2 stages. The very first stage is about the first initial step where the preparation is being done, and the people, because they are excited, they are happy, they do not feel any burden whatsoever. Burden of preparation, burden of maybe apprehension that they might face some problems during the journey, or maybe burden of packing, and so many things have to be taken into consideration, that people might fall ill on the way, so you have to carry some medicines also. When you pack for your journey, you have to carry your food also, you have to pack your clothes, and obviously the comfort of your home cannot be completely replicated when you are on the move. So but because you are looking forward to that journey, you're looking forward to the destination, you're looking forward to the pilgrimage, none of these things appear as burden to you. Then in the second stage, the poet says that the exploration has started, the journey has started, and whatever little difficulties that might have come on the way initially, the people, they continue with patience. They are not ready to give up the journey. They are still looking forward, and they are kind of still pretty excited, so they do not give up on the journey despite certain problems that they have already started facing. Then the sun beat down to match our rage. That is, the sun, maybe there is some natural problems, or maybe the nature is for example, if you travel during the summers, it is very hot, so it becomes a little difficult to go out of your home and travel for a very long distance, because the beating sun, the high temperature can be quite painful. But because the people are happy about the journey, because they want to take that journey, they overlook these problems also, the natural calamities, the natural the sun beating down, or the temperature, or whatever discomfort that they face due to the condition of the nature, that also does not dampen their spirit, because their rage means the excitement, the spirit of looking forward, the eagerness. That is what rage means here. It does not mean anger exactly. It means all that excitement that the people have in their hearts for this particular journey. So everything is overlooked, even whatever discomfort that they are experiencing, all that is put aside due to the excitement, due to the happiness that the people are experiencing on this journey. Then, line number 6 onwards, we stood it very well, I thought, observed and put down copious notes of things the peasants sold and bought, the way of serpents and of goats, three cities where a sage had taught. So, this in the second paragraph, the poet is talking about his experience while on the journey. So, we stood it very well. This is now connected to the last line of the first paragraph, that whatever problems that they faced, whatever issues that they had, whatever discomfort that they faced, they stood it very well. That is, they handled it very well, they accepted it, and yet they moved on their journey. This is what the poet thinks, this is what the poet feels. And he says that we observed everything. Now, here there is a slight, maybe the poet is trying to say, it can have two meanings. Firstly, that initially when you start on your journey, you're so excited that you start noting each and everything, even those details which are not very relevant, or those points which are not, you need not concentrate upon. But because you're, it's something new, that experience is something fresh, so you want to note down everything. So he's just given an example that how people start making notes, many notes. They note and write down every little experience, every little observation that they make, they sit and note it down in their diary. So, like for example, now he goes on to give example also, like for peasants, maybe they are going through a village, so whatever is being sold there, whatever is being bought by the travelers, by the co-travelers, the way of the serpent and the goats, the three cities where the sage had taught, all this, whatever they are learning on their pilgrimage, whatever they are learning on their journey, they start noting it down, right? One meaning can be this, and the other meaning can be, maybe the poet is trying to comment that this all is not really necessary. You don't need to write down things. You just need to observe. You just need to absorb. Understand? So maybe this is the other comment of the poet through these words, that unnecessarily his co-passengers, his co-travelers were making such detailed notes of whatever they observed on the way, which was not actually required for the destination or for the journey overall. And in this, the line number 9, please note the way of serpents and of goats. This is an example of when you try to uh, substitute a certain word for something else. Like for example, way of the serpent can refer to the clever people, it can refer to the mischievous people, right? And the way of the goat can be referring to simpler people, to innocent people. This can be the meaning of these two words, because when you go out together in a group, it is not necessary that all the people are, same, that all the people think or behave or conduct themselves in the similar manner. Okay, because each person is different, and in a group of people it is not necessary that people share the same inclinations, or people share the same level of empathy, or people share the same level of intellect. Each individual is different. Some people are naughty, some people are simple, some people are very clever, whereas some others are totally innocent. So maybe this is what he is referring to, that how the mischievous people conducted themselves, and on the other hand how the simple innocent people conducted themselves, that all was under observation. So each person of the group was observing the other, and they were noting down everything that they saw on their way. Then moving on to the third paragraph, the next 5 lines. But when the differences arose, On how to cross a desert patch, we lost a friend whose stylish prose was quite the best of all our batch. A shadow falls on us and grows. Now, here in the third paragraph, you can see that the tone has changed. In the first paragraph, everything is happy, hunky dory, as you say. In the second paragraph, there are certain, points that the poet has started observing of differences, right? And in the third paragraph, whatever differences had to come up, they are now becoming obvious. And what does the poet says? That what was the issue? How to cross a desert. Because when you're on a journey, there are naturally certain ups and downs. The path can throw in a lot of spanners, or the path can have certain difficulties. Sometimes the you have to decide which, for example, there may be the road might divide into two, and you have to decide which road to take. Okay, so there are, when on a journey, at different point of time, different kind of suggestions are have to be taken up, different kind of decisions have to be made, because it is not necessary that the journey is going to run smoothly from beginning to the end. This we all understand. So there can be certain problems that come up. Like, for example, I'll give you just a small problem. Suppose you're traveling by bus, and all of a sudden there is the bus breakdowns. Now, this is an unexpected problem before you, because when you set out on a journey, you check your bus, you check all the tires, you check everything, and you think that no problem is going to come on the way. But sometimes it can happen. Your bus can get out of, it may get, they may it have a, it might have a breakdown. So it will be a waste of time. Everybody will have to get off the bus. You will have to, correct whatever problem is. If there's a tire puncture, you'll have to change the tire and then again set out on the journey once again. So with this short example, I'm just trying to say here, the poet is telling us something like that the differences arose because maybe he's just giving an example that there was a desert patch. Now, desert patch can metaphorically be referring to some problem, and there, because there were so many people in the group, there were different opinions how to tackle that problem, how to sort out that problem. So there were different ways that people suggested. And what happened as a result of that difference? Because some people might have said, let's do it this way, while others said, they must have given some other suggestion. They might have insisted, no, that we should cross this problem in this manner. So he says, when this happened, we lost a friend whose stylish prose was quite the best of all our batch. Now, this is kind of, the poet says that, this is the first example of how one of the tourists or one of the co-passengers, he decided to leave the group and move out on his own. And the poet is taking certain pains to explain the character of that person. And the poet tells us that this particular person was a very intelligent person, he was a very learned person, and he was one person who could write very well. Stylish prose means somebody who could, who was master of writing, who was a master of maybe creating stories, who had a way with words, who was perfect as well as far as language is concerned. And that person, who was one of the best people of our batch, one of the best persons of our group, he decided to leave us and move out alone. So the poet concludes, he says, a shadow falls on us and grows. So this was the first example of friction. This was the first example of conflict. This was the first example of difference of opinion between this particular group of people who had set out on a pilgrimage. And slowly this started to grow. What started to grow? Please understand this very carefully. The differences that set in, these differences, these conflicts, this friction, this slowly started to grow. Now, before I move on with the poem, let me just quickly sum up these three paragraphs, because please understand, this poem is basically an allegory for the journey of our life. Now, through this journey of a pilgrimage, the poet is trying to comment upon how we live our lives. I'll just give you a short example. For example, you take up the example of a family. One family can include more than two, three, four, or five people. And each person of the family thinks in his or her own way, right? And when there are certain problems, each person will have his own solution to solve it. And that solution can sometimes be creating a friction, because each person in the family thinks in a different manner, and it is not necessary that you come up with a single solution to your problems. Each person has his own way of thinking, and that can lead to friction, that can lead to conflict. So please understand that through this pilgrimage, through this idea of a journey, through this concept of a group of people traveling together, the poet is trying to actually comment upon our lives, how we live our lives, how we move on this journey of, you know, uh, of our the way we live as a unit, we live as a family, and how we move forward, whether we move forward together, whether we decide to part ways, whether our family breaks down into smaller units. That is what the poet is trying to discuss in this poem through the idea of a pilgrimage, through the idea of an actual journey. The poet is trying to comment upon the journey of our lives. So I'll end here for now. The rest of the three paragraphs I will do in the next lecture, because from here there is a change going to take place, and the excitement that you can perceive in the first half of the poem, that excitement is going to completely get inverted. It is going to There's going to be a complete change in the second half of the poem, and how it happens, I'll share it with you in the next part of the lecture. Till then, take care. I shall see you again soon. Bye bye.